Welcome to Econ 317. In this instruction video, we will go over the concept of a budget set. So for budget set, we are going to deal with two goods. So budget set with two goods. Good one, apples. Its price is given by $2 per pound and we will show it on the horizontal axis. Good 2 is the orange. Price is $3 per pound and we will denote it, we will describe it on the y-axis. I need additional information, that is the income this consumer has, and that I will take it to be $300 per month. This says that this consumer is going to spend up to $300 on the pair of these two goods, apples and oranges. Remember, we are looking at possibility of spending any number between 0 up to $300, and that will give us the budget set. So now I will write down the definition of budget set formally. The budget set contains all combinations of the two goods, which are apple and orange, and obviously these are in pounds, which a consumer can afford given the prices and the income at hand. Okay, so with this, let's start with looking at some possible combinations. So I want to write down apples on x-axis, and these are in pounds, and then we have orange, which I will denote on y-axis. Again, these are in pounds. And then we know the prices, $2 for apple, $3 per pound for orange, $300 at hand. So let's look at the possible combinations of these two goods the consumer can afford. I'll start with a very trivial one, 0 pounds of apple, 0 pounds of orange. Definitely the consumer can afford. He is spending nothing, buying no apple, no orange. Not a very interesting combination to look forward to, and that's how I claim it to be a trivial one. Now I want to go to ask the question about what is the maximum amount of apples this consumer can afford given the prices and the income. Obviously, when I'm looking at the maximum quantity of apples, orange must be 0. The consumer has $300 at hand. Price of apple is $2 per pound, which gives me 150 pounds of apples which the consumer can afford. So this is a feasible combination. I could go the other direction where the question would be what is the maximum amount of orange the consumer can afford. Again, in this situation, the consumer will have 0 pounds of apple, and then the maximum quantity of orange he could afford is given the $3 per pound price and $300 at hand, turns out to be 100 pounds. These are not the only combinations. We could look at several more. Remember, the last two combinations were such that the consumer spent all the money at hand. This I want to emphasize because I will come back to this point later on. Are these the only 2 points, 2 pairs where the consumer is spending all his money and finding out the possible combinations of apple and orange? Certainly not. Let me look at one more. So let's see 75 pounds of apple, that is with $2 per pound, 75 pounds of apple, $150 gone. And then 50 pounds of orange with $3 per pound as the price, $150. The remaining $150 is gone as well. So again, this is a combination where the consumer spends all the money. Now, with this information, let's now go back to describing the budget set graphically. So as I have said, I have x-axis denoting apple, y-axis denoting orange, and when I say apple and orange, these are the quantities of apple and orange, and quantities are in pounds. So just to be very clear, we know 150 pounds of apple and no orange, that's feasible. So let's say this is here. 150 pounds of apple, 0 orange. We also know 0 pounds of apple and 100 pounds of orange also is a feasible combination. So now I can connect these two. We will see this has to be a straight line. Doesn't look like a straight line, but we will assume it to be a straight line. With this, we have got a line which I will call as the budget line. This is the line on which all combinations of apple and orange are described, are written up, are included, where the consumer is spending entire income of $300. So budget line, entire money is spent. Any point in the interior, like this point which I had started with, again is affordable, but the consumer has not spent all his money. So for example, maybe I will take 75 pounds of apple and let's say 20 pounds of orange. That's a point which is feasible. Set. Any point in this triangle is a feasible combination of apple and orange. The points on the budget line are those feasible points where the consumer has spent all the money, and any point outside of this triangle is an infeasible. Combination. So for example, I will take, let's say, 100 pounds of apple, $200 corn, and let's make it 100 pounds of orange. So this point is not feasible because given the prices, the consumer will not be able to afford. So I have now described the budget set in two ways. First, I came up with a table where we just looked at some possible combinations of apple and orange. We could have added many more. Then I drew a graph for the budget set and where I described the budget line. Lastly, I will describe the budget set and the budget line using a mathematical formula. So now let's go to write down the budget line as a mathematical expression. So if price is $2 per pound and let's say the quantity of apple the consumer buys is X pounds, then the money spent on X pounds of apple is the price $2 per pound times X pounds, so 2X. Now I can ask the same question for orange. So money spent on Y pounds of orange. $3 per pound was the price and Y pounds of orange the consumer is buying. So price 3 times the quantity Y turns out to be 3Y. Remember, X and Y are non-negative. Doesn't make any sense for X to take any negative values. Same is true for Y, non-negative. Now, so if we look at X pounds of apple, Y pounds of orange, the total money spent is the sum 2X plus 3Y. And that we know the consumer has a maximum of $300. So the total money spent cannot exceed $300, and this is the budget set. This is the way we will describe budget set using formula where we have X to be non-negative, Y to be non-negative, and price times the quantity of apple 2X plus price times the quantity of orange 3Y cannot exceed $300. This is the graph, the triangle which we had shown in the graph. This is the mathematical formula. I will also now write down the budget line where we knew the money spent on these two goods is exactly equal to $300. So you can draw a graph for this line and you will see the graph I had drawn earlier is exactly what we will obtain here. And this is a good point to stop.